Wow.
Oh,
Technology's hard. Anthony and I got a private music show to the intro, and
it was very
apologies for
good.
that. Man, that was great music. Well, I'll play it at the end because it was awesome. And this is now what you
Lo-fi
guys,
beats to drink whiskey to.
yeah, lo-fi beats to get corny to. And now you guys know we have a producer. Typically I am not producing. That's because I'm really bad at it. Usually I have John here, Mr. Henderson, helping out. But John is off doing adult things tonight. So it's me and Corn Danny, aka Anthony, aka Hit Picket. Definitely not Hat Pocket joining me for another Maize Monday tonight. How are you, man?
Fantastic. Happy to be here. I'm feeling chill after the lo-fi beats to chill and study to that we listened to.
Oh, I'm never gonna forgive myself for that.
I'm gonna get my wife to draw us as anime girls studying for the next one.
Okay. I mean, like she's knocking it out. The banner this time I thought was just fucking awesome, and it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, she's good at what she does. Where I lack any talent, she has all the talent.
Okay. I like it. I mean, yeah, we do what we do so that other people can do what they do better. Like I said, we are here for another Maize Monday. We're kind of having fun with this one. We last time we drank some fun single barrel Mellow Corn. Heaven Hill has still not blessed us with the cob of delight on that one, but we've got some other fun stuff to drink tonight.
Yeah, more Heaven Hill.
People are gonna think we're sponsored or something.
God, I wish, please. I will sell out in a fucking heartbeat.
Okay, well, straight from the horse's mouth, Heaven Hill, if you're listening, you have one easy target. Just swoop them right up.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I don't think they have to purchase my services. I did happen to accidentally start a subreddit that has like 2,000 members that worships a $13 product.
True, the bar has never been lower.
Yeah.
Well, Azure, I assume it's Azure Blue. It's either you like love Death and Robots or you use Microsoft Azure. I'm from Madison, Wisconsin. Where are you from? If you care to disclose.
I'm in Knoxville, Tennessee, by way of Ohio, though. I grew up in southeastern Ohio and lived in Cincinnati for quite a long time, and I've been here for about 3.5 years.
Oh, okay. Well, that's not so bad. So I grew up in Puyallup, Washington, where I moved to Connecticut, and then I went to school in upstate New York, and then I decided that a job in Wisconsin made sense. So you at least are like a little more reasonable, like a direct path there.
Yeah, where I'm from, we just got full countywide 911 service in 2011.
Wow. Okay.
Yep.
Yowza.
Very, very small town. Man, I'm jealous of that Miller Lite.
Yeah, it's been like 18 minutes since I had a drink, so I thought I would just refresh in the green room while we were hanging out. But yeah, my fiance and I are doing the old keto rush, which is great. But like, I miss really big beers, but like I don't really miss them that much now. But every now and then, like I was playing with my dog and out of breath, I was like, it sounds good, like a Miller Lite. And then I prepped the green room and stuff for tonight, and then forgot to hit live. So I'm just gonna own that it was the Miller.
I have a bunch of fancy beers in my fridge, but I also have some Budweisers that I still enjoy from time to time.
Yeah,
and Land Shark. I really dig Land Shark. I mean, I am a Jimmy Buffett fan, so that makes me kind of a homer for that bad beer, but I'm into it.
Land Shark's fun. I drank Land Shark in college, admittedly because it was like a cheaper Corona and like it came in the long neck, but like good stuff. Like I kind of like I won't say I was like a beer snob, but like I loved like the big beers, the hype beers, the expensive beers. Let's chase beers, but honestly, like some days a Miller Lite is just like the most refreshing thing before you like cook dinner or grill something out, and I'm into it. It's kind of like I wouldn't say the Mellow Corn of beer, but like Mellow Corn is very much a sessionable whiskey if ever one did exist.
Mellow Corn and PBR is a pretty sweet combo.
Okay.
Or you can snag any of like the Lone Star, any of the PBRs that are just PBR but in a different can or bottle.
Yeah.
Goes pretty well with some Mellow Corn. Sometimes I keep a bottle of Mellow Corn right by the fridge. That way you can just slam a mouthful of it when you're going in to grab a beer.
Man, I can't remember the last time I was like, oh, look, Mellow Corn. I better just slam some of that real fast.
Yeah, it happens more often than you would like to know here.
I believe it. So I will admit, the last time we were on, it had been a long time since I had Mellow Corn, and we didn't even drink that much Mellow Corn. We had a little bit here and there. We talked for a while. I don't know if I'm just getting old, but the next day I woke up with the worst hangover I've had. Like,
it'll get you.
That I felt like I woke up and I was like, but why? Like, I don't deserve this. Like, some nights John and I like get a little saucy and we get like a couple of episodes filmed afterwards. And I'm like, you know what? I deserve that one. But after the Mellow Corn episode, I was like, what did I do to earn this? And I remember like, okay, Mellow Corn, like it is a brash beast.
When we did the first live stream with Heaven Hill, I drank a little over a quarter of a bottle of it, and I felt like absolute dog shit the next day, and I couldn't figure out. So as soon as we got done, halfway through, I got sick of holding my phone, so I just laid down, and I realized I was probably drunk at that point. And my wife was like, "Yeah, you drank a quarter of a bottle of Mellow Corn." I was like, "Oh yeah, I did. Oops." Fuck, it's just dude. So it's like you said, it's sessionable.
Yeah, like I could see. I always make this allegory, and I think it's interesting. Like once a year without fail on our bourbon, we get a question. It's like, I'm going to be tubing down the river all day with my friends. What whiskey should I bring that like I can afford, that is good, but also like if we lose it somewhere along the way, I like won't be heartbroken. And it's always like just grab some Mellow Corn or like a Evan Williams Black. Like it's going to do just fine. Like everyone can like smash it. And like if you lose it in the rapids somewhere, like no hearts were broken that day.
Well, the good thing about Mellow Corn and Evan Williams Black is you can get it in the 1.75 plastic. Mm-hmm. That way you don't have to worry about it cracking and popping your tube.
Exactly.
Anything that comes in a plastic bottle is some of my favorite stuff. I'd like to see this giant decanter, but in a plastic version. For like $150. Take $10 off the MSRP. Let me snag it.
I don't know if Heaven Hill's going to go for that. I was going to say, I thought you were going in the direction of Ancient Age. Be like, yeah, Ancient Age is great and it comes in a plastic handle. But how funny would it be if they made that like complete with stopper? Here's a glass stopper.
Glass stopper in a plastic bottle.
Yeah, I'm like, so the funniest thing happened to me the other day, and I don't know if we've talked about it. I don't think so. I got this bottle after the last one. So I bought the Whistle Pig 18, the double malt rye, right? Like it's mm-hmm. a $400 bottle of rye, and it comes with this hand cut crystal stopper, and they like make it a really good point to tell you like the stopper is perfect. Like we throw out every 1 out of 3 because they don't meet our qualifications. And so I popped this thing out of the box and I was like, I can't wait. Like this stopper is going to be so satisfying. And I set it in the bottle and it didn't even seal. It just kind of sat there and it like rattled around. And I was like, are you kidding me? Like this doesn't even like it's called a stopper and it's stopping nothing. Like I'm holding it's like a hot dog in a hallway. It's just like kind of rattling around. And so I sent them an email and they're like, oh no. That's not meant to like actually seal the bottle. That's just meant to like sit on top. Like you should use the cork for real storage. And I felt so let down. So I'd love to see Heaven Hill like attack that angle.
Oh, and this is the craziest cork. It is.
I think there's some penetration there.
It's like 4.5 inches long. This thing, it looks like a pacifier that a girl has at a rave. Like weird rave pacifiers. Also, it's bulbous on one end and does not fit in well.
That's interesting. A tequila brand, Don Fulano, has the same thing where you spend like 10 minutes like just trying to like jam it back in. Like, did this fit? Like, did this fit before?
I have a question. Let's talk about Whistle Pig.
Yeah.
I don't get it. I don't get it. I've been hesitant because I know that I don't love 100% rye mash bills.
Sure. And
I tried a 14.5-year pick and I thought it tasted like angry vegetables.
No, that checks out. I mean, I get a lot of copper penny, like a lot of vegetal, like rye spice. So the ages on those really depend because there's one thing that's very clear in that some Whistle Pig have spent the entire time in like first fill oak and some have been rebarreled. And I think that really weighs into what people enjoy. Our bourbon just released a 15.5 year that was like good, but definitely that like vegetal, spicy clove, like black tea kind of note. We have 2 12s coming out soon that are totally different profiles. So maybe we'll make an episode of that. We'll compare them.
Yeah, I tried so hard to like I can taste it and I get the notes. Everybody's like, here's what I get, and I'm like, yeah, I kind of agree with that. I don't find a whole lot of sweetness in them at all. And I know 100% rye, you're not looking at a ton of sweetness, but man, I just see people going out of their gourd over Whistle Pig picks. And for some reason, I always feel like it'd be interesting to hear what other people's like whiskey disconnects are. Like I just can't. Whistle Pig is one of those things that I don't understand. That and Aberlour. Aberlour Scotch. I don't understand the love. People are like, this rules, and I'm like, mm-mm.
I think so. The ryes are always polarizing. Like you find the same thing in MGP rye too, right? Like some people would rather just die, bury me in a vat of MGP rye and never say another word. And some people are like, you know what, I don't like it. And I think that's also kind of like that dill vegetal note. Like those 2 ryes, especially, you know, a lot of ryes are like really brown sugar for like really clove praline, and those are more agreeable. But I do find that like you're not alone in the Alberta / MGP rye, because like MGP rye is 95.5, right? So it's like really close, and like those ryes just kind of get funky. And Aberlour, I mean, yeah, that one's hard because the OB releases are either okay or they're like super boring or like super sulfurous.
That's what I find the 12 year to be kind of sulfury, and it's like smelling sulfur while eating a box of sun-made raisins.
Yeah. And that's like, they remind me of Aberfeldy, where like Aberfeldy and Aberlour like aren't good until like that random bottling where they are. And then like when they nail it, it is amazing and it's perfect and it's spot on. And all the other times, yeah, they're usually thin. They taste like raisin bread, but like with big hints of sulfur. They like just don't hit it for me.
To stand true to I like budget things, I got a bottle of Dewar's Portuguese Smooth.
Oh yeah, what'd you think? It's
pretty good for an 8-year-old blend. That it's like the poor man's Quinta Rubin. I dug it.
Yeah, I bought the Ilegal Smooth, the Caribbean Smooth, and the Portuguese Smooth 2 weeks ago. And the Portuguese Smooth I thought was for $23 was really nice.
Yeah, I think it's as good as like Compass Box's The Spaniard
for sure.
In like a finished blend, and that's $30 more.
The fun part too is that if you compare the Portuguese Smooth, if you like hold a light up to it, like that thing is ruby. Like there is no doubt that that's all. Like sometimes I try something and I'm like, was there port involved? Like you look at Portuguese Smooth and there is no doubt like port was involved. Like this thing is ruby red.
Yeah. So are we gonna smash some Old Fitz?
Yeah, let's do it. Why don't you go ahead and explain? We've kind of been telling people for a couple of days what's going on, but top shelf meet bottom shelf. What are we drinking tonight?
Old Fitz Prime, which I already poured because I didn't want 2 bottles on the table, and then this magnificent bastard. Phrasing. Let's not steal Whiskey Tribe stuff. This beautiful son of a bitch.
Fuck, I left my medallion at home. Jesus Christ.
Right, yeah, sorry. God. I guess I don't know that you're a true whiskey sommelier then.
Well, I'm writing the level 7 exam and it'll be out soon.
Oh, cool. Well, that'd be nice to know. But I'm also intrigued to see what your process is on tasting whiskeys. I'm gonna be honest. Most of my stuff is just smoke and mirrors. Like the tasting notes are really kind of take a backseat to the weird experiential stuff that I talk about. My goal is never to be the guy who's like, Pluot and apricot pits.
I love that you just said Pluot. That's amazing.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite tasting notes. I'm actually allergic to Pluots because they're a stone fruit, but I do see that occasionally, more with wine, but
sure.
I like reading wine reviews, even though I'm allergic to wine.
Oh, because of the stone fruitness or the grape or
sulfites. So I grew up with asthma.
Okay.
Haven't had asthma in years. Had a glass of wine with my wife when I first moved here. Probably the first glass of red wine I'd ever had that wasn't like pre-made sangria, and nearly had to go to the hospital. It gave me such a bad asthma attack.
Oh shit.
Yeah. So that's why I'm really skeptical on a lot of finished whiskeys that are finished with wine finishes. But I read some science recently that there's probably not a whole lot of sulfite transfer.
Yeah, that makes sense. But always good to be careful.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. Fun story, Pluot. Growing up, my mother was very in tune with the I won't say like the health food trend, but like very, very niche fruits, like the blood orange and the Pluot. Like I was the kid on the schoolyard, like trade you a Pluot for your Diet Dr. Pepper, and kids were like, fuck off. Like, I don't want a Pluot. I was like, but it's a plum and an apricot. Like, come on.
Yeah.
Didn't work.
I would love to eat those. But I can't, but alas, I cannot for fear of death.
That's too bad. Well, I will enjoy a Pluot later in your honor. Yeah, like tasting's interesting. Like it's always interesting, and like I make fun of it a lot because like once a month without fail on our bourbon, we get a post that's like, I tasted X whiskey for the very first time and I couldn't pick up any of these notes whatsoever. So clearly the answer is that tasting whiskey is bullshit, which I can get it. Okay. You know, the first time I tried to water ski, I was not amazing. And therefore people who water ski are totally fake. Like I get it. Natural human skepticism. But like anything else, it takes practice, at least in my personal experience. Like I was not good at tasting on day one. I think it was Eagle Rare 10-year or Smooth Ambler 10-year, but I'm pretty sure it was Eagle Rare. And like I stumbled through.
Eagle Rare was your first review.
Okay, good. Keeping me honest. I like it.
I found it and read it.
Good, good. Yeah.
Like, same bones. It's the exact same style.
Okay, well, I'm glad the voice hasn't changed. Like, hopefully the notes are better because, like, honestly, like that was a struggle, and that was a point where I told myself, you know, hey, if you can write a review once a day for a week, maybe you'll stick to it. And I was like, I'll give up by Wednesday, but like, let's give it a go. And obviously that hasn't happened, but like it's hard to do. Now it's much easier. And for me, like everything is about a mental connection. Like there's no note that I throw out that like doesn't remind me of like an actual, not memory, but like when I say like brown sugar, I can think of like sneaking brown sugar as a kid before we put it on Raisin Bran. Like, you know, saying apple pie means things like pastry and vanilla and apple. And that's where like I think people get kind of hung up because like it is hard. Like you're making those connections. And like if you're not actively trying to make those neural connections day to day, you know, doing it for whiskey is going to be hard. And like I'm still not a pro. Like wine is so terrifying. Like I try like so many wines and I'm like, you know what, if whiskey's easy at this point, maybe I'll be really good at wine. And like wine is super humbling. So anyone who out there thinks that I'm like some sommelier level thing, that's total horseshit. Cause that's a whole new level of hard. But yeah, the nose and the taste and like kind of like correlating those to memory are like the big things for me.
So for me, when I taste stuff, I think of, so I like to cook in my real life. I think of everything as ingredients. So like with this, for some reason, it smells creamy to me. And so I would take like, let's say it's, you know, I smell creaminess, apples, brown sugar. I'm like, oh, so it's my grandma's apple dumplings with some vanilla ice cream. Because I take the ingredients and build the dish in my head.
Yeah.
Because I think what a lot of people, the demystification of it is when you realize that, no, it doesn't smell exactly like the thing that we say it smells like.
Mm-hmm.
It's an art. It's as much of a gift with words as it is with, it's a creative writing exercise as well as a sense exercise.
Sure. And like, I find like, I'm no creative genius, but like, if I was to just sit down and be like apple, cinnamon, vanilla, brown sugar, touch of tannin, done like, yeah, that conveys the point, but it's not super interesting when you like, you know, and I'm not saying like, oh, like, you know, warm apple pie, 197 degrees, 30 degrees tilted on the pan, 1 dash of cinnamon nutmeg. Like obviously, like there's people that go crazy that way, but like, hey, this reminds me of apple pie. Like it smells like all these things I love about apple pie, as long as you can give people a way to like deconstruct it. Because like, sure, everyone makes pie different. Like, and some like, I'm trying to think of the note that everyone bags on that's like garden hose or like fresh opened tennis ball. Like, yeah, that seems pretentious, but somewhere in somebody's mind, like they can dial in the moment of their life where that has happened. And I think that's admirable. Like maybe it's not relatable.
Do you have a tasting note that drives you crazy that you read a bunch? Because I have one.
Oh, I mean, so there's one that I write about that drives other people crazy, and that's waffle cone. But I can't think. Really? Yeah, I'm like, people are always like, man, but does it have a waffle cone? And it reminds me of like Fred Minnick's marzipan. Like people love to ask him, like, but was there marzipan? As far as one that drives, I hate when people say like it doesn't taste dusty enough, and that's about as far as I can reach. So like, oh, I hope it would have tasted dusty. You're like, what the fuck does that mean? Like,
yeah, I don't. I think that dusty means malty.
Yeah.
That's because that's the experience I would get with malt, is like a dustiness. Like a really malty beer to me kind of tastes like walking into an old warehouse.
Oh, like a big Belgian or something?
Yeah. And I think they're like Glenmorangie tastes dusty to me, kind of like an old warehouse. Okay. So I equate that to like maltiness, that like open mouth feel. But the one that drives me crazy is stewed pears. I read that one so often, and I respect people's, but who you haven't. Stewed pears isn't a thing we have on a regular basis. I see this banana runts thing here, and this was a whole ordeal in our bourbon the other day.
Sure was.
I'm going to tell you people what I told that guy. Banana runts were fucking huge when I was a kid.
Dude, same.
Yeah, like I can tell you the texture, the difference in the coating of each runt. Yes. I know runts better. I can tell you the mouthfeel of M&M's better than I can the mouthfeel of Weller OWA. Like I know that way better.
I mean, even just like viscerally for me is like, okay, I like the smooth outer coating, that sweet banana, and then you get that really granular gritter, slightly like acidic bitter. Like when that guy was like, everyone's 55 and hasn't had a rut in 30 years, I was like, excuse me, sir, I have a box on my shelf right now. Like,
yeah,
I love banana runs. They're amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember you'd go to the mall, and every mall had that section with the quarter machines.
Yep.
You'd turn it and get a handful of runts.
Yes.
And then I would eat all of my friends' banana. Well, that sounded wrong. I would eat all of my friends' banana runts, and I would give away my orange because I didn't like the texture of the orange ones.
Yes. I did. Like the orange were just too commonplace. Like you could get orange fruit flavor in any other candy, but if you wanted that banana flavor, you had to get banana Laffy Taffy or banana runt.
Yeah. And it's actually not based on real or bananas that exist anymore, right? That's the thing, is the flavoring was come up with in the 70s when bananas were different.
Yeah, like between that and then you have the whole juicy fruit flavored with isoamyl acetate. Like a lot of those tropical fruits are just not based on reality, but they're so delicious. Like, yeah. I'm a huge fan of banana runs.
Yeah, Jack Daniel's limited edition rye tastes like juicy fruit to me, kind of.
Okay. I could see that. I loved that rye, but I also really like Thomas Handy, so it's not a surprise that another young barrel proof rye would like totally steal it for me.
My secret shame is that I don't usually, for my reviews, taste out of a Glencairn.
Okay.
I have a large nose, and that happens to me. And so to get a sip, I actually do this.
I'm thinking of that scene from Wizard in the Oz, or the Wizard of Oz, where they have like the little can and they like tilt it in the side of his mouth, and you're like, oh, I can talk.
Yeah, they just don't work for me.
That's fair. I do all of my tasting from a Glencairn, but if I'm drinking, like I really like the Rydell performance glass. That one's fun. And like honestly, I just got the Norwin tumbler, which like pains me to say is a really well made glass. Like that one's a lot of fun.
Is that the vase? It's like this big around. Is that the one?
It's called the Rauk or the Rock. Admittedly, it's like $50, and I think it weighs like a pound. But it's like,
oh my god,
the most I am the Godfather / whatever that guy from John Wick like holding it hurts after a while, but it's just so satisfying.
I am pulling that up.
I might have
that's a sharp glass.
It's fun. I didn't think I'd like it. I bought it mostly out of spite, and I love it.
My mother-in-law got me a few whiskey glasses. You know, as soon as you tell someone that you're into whiskey, you get all manner of random paraphernalia.
Yep.
But she got me some really nice. They actually match these glasses. They're just like half tall.
Oh, sure.
A nice heavy bottom. I enjoy those for drinking whiskey. I don't like a square glass.
Okay.
I just can't. I can't find one that to me, the difference is negligible in what I can smell in this versus if I just put my whole honker into.
Sure. Yeah. Get a good seal.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Glencairn, I mean, for me, it first, like I started this when I was kind of poor too. And I was like, oh, I'll get a bottle of whiskey here and there. Like a Glencairn is $8. Like it is impossible in my mind. Like I have many other glasses I love more that are way like multiple times. Like you can measure them in Glencairn multiplied by this number. Like for $8, a Glencairn is great. Good rocks glass is good. Yeah, let's talk about the whiskey itself. So we have Old Fitzgerald Prime, which is a no age statement, young 80. Is it 80 proof or 86 proof? I can't recall.
I think it's 80.
Okay,
the bottle's not near me.
So it's 80.
It's got to be 80. It's $13.
Yeah, it's not particularly well known. It used to be made at Stitzel-Weller. A lot of those old bottles were famed because they were at Stitzel-Weller. And then we have Old Fitzgerald on the complete opposite side, the 15-year 100 proof. So pretty big divide on both sides. We have an extra at least 11 years and 10% ABV between them. So I think, it'll be fun to compare. It's
this was a mostly full bottle on Christmas Eve, and I took it to my father-in-law's house for Christmas Eve, and he really enjoyed it. About a quarter of the bottle worth of enjoyed it.
It's good. Like not to jump the gun here. So like Heaven Hill, at least to me, has this, I won't say legacy, but they have this habit where they release brand new product and the first batch is always bad. It's like, okay, I see what you were going for, but you missed it. And then they get really close on number 2. And then by like batch 3 and 4, they have that like just it's dialed right in. And like
imagine how great Mellow Corn 2 will be.
Maybe.
Yeah.
We'll see. 20 years after the first release, they give it another round. That's funny. I'll have to like tell Heaven Hill, like, when are you gonna release batch 2?
Yeah, I'm ready for it, man. I find Old Fitz Prime to be super thin and not super enjoyable. I know I'm the budget bourbon guy, but fuck, I find it really difficult to drink.
Yeah, and that's like, so I don't know if you were around when we started this. Does the phrase RTTR mean anything to you?
No.
Okay, so all caps RTTR, and what it stands for is rocks to the rim. And we some buddies of mine here in Wisconsin, before, back when we could like hang out with anyone whenever we wanted at any time. My good buddy, Devil's Advocate on Reddit, was like, "Hey, I love Old Fitzgerald Prime, but it needs to be RTTR." And like my buddy Mike and I were like, "What the hell are you talking about? Like, what does that even mean?" And he was like, "Yeah." He was like, "You need a plastic Masters golf cup, and you're gonna fill that sucker with ice." And you're going to dump in a whole bunch of Old Fitzgerald Prime, and you're going to haul your ass out back to the hammock with a lawn chair while you're grilling. And like, that is where Old Fitzgerald Prime shines. And we're like, that is the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. So like now when we get together for tastings, like everyone has like a green plastic tumbler with the Masters logo on it. It's like chipped because it's been through the dishwasher 100 times. So like you load that baby up with ice, throw in some Old Fitzgerald Prime. Prime on ice is fine, probably because your taste buds are numb, as like they'll ever be.
I feel really the same way about Beam Bonded. Beam Bonded on ice is the only whiskey I like on ice.
Okay.
And man, is it good on a warm summer day.
Yeah, like I was like, this is terrible whiskey, but like it has its place, like mowing the lawn, like hanging out in the hammock, like not trying to get into the top shelf stuff. Like this is satisfying because it's refreshing. It's almost, I won't do Miller Lite the disservice, but you know, it's kind of getting to that vein of like macro American Pilsner lager that's super inexpensive, refreshing. Like if you want a triple IPA or a quadruple Imperial Stout, like you're not gonna grab a Miller, but like Prime weirdly has its place for me, and it's kind of fun. Maybe it's just the friendship aspect.
Yeah, I don't like wheaters as a rule. It's not my thing.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it dulls down complexity and adds a weird flatness to a bourbon that I don't love. That's why I don't think that Weller is worth tatering for me. You know, I have a bottle of Full Proof. It's okay. It's probably the best version of that, but generally, like, that's why I was hesitant to get this very expensive bottle when I won it in the Total Wine Lottery. And I have a very hard time spending money on bourbon. That's why I started off doing, you know, $20 and under bottles. And I really love the big boy though. the low end, I get a lot of that funk that I don't love.
Okay. Like for me, it's always been interesting because people love the young wheaters. But for me, they need age and they need proof, which are some of the things that like Weller doesn't provide unless you try and get the bottles that are not easy to get. Like I thought Weller Full Proof was really, really nice, but I don't like Weller Special Reserve. Like Weller 12 is just like ambient in a bottle as far as I'm concerned. Like Old Weller Antique is cinnamon red hots in a profile I don't enjoy, but like Weller Single Barrel, Weller Full Proof, like that's getting there for me, which is probably why I enjoy, you know, William LaRue Weller. But wheat's interesting. Like it has to hit just right. Otherwise it's probably going to be a miss for me.
Yeah. Have you had any of the Old Elk wheated store picks? Like the cask strength wheated?
I have. I do enjoy those.
I think they're thin.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. It's just, they really bummed me out because I was expecting, I have a really hard time trying to understand the full story of wheat because it is so tatered. Mm-hmm. Like every local around here, every store has like wheated bourbon signs below random brands that are wheated mash bills. And I it's hard to wade through that to find something I like because now prices have gone up on anything that is wheated.
Sure.
It's just not my thing. I want to like it. I like this Old Fitz, but I think the age is the thing that I like about the Old Fitz.
Yeah, and I think that wheat needs like some really strong tannic in it, like integration. Like it needs those tannins, it needs that oak structure. The wheater for me, and I know it's not a wheated bourbon, which is where everyone like pushes up their glasses and says like, actually, but Bernheim 7-year wheat whiskey, I think is really, really good. And I think it could crush Old Weller Antique any day in a blind, but nobody wants to buy it because it says wheat whiskey and it's $30, which is exactly where Old Weller Antique used to be. And maybe, I don't know, maybe I should start sending out Bernheim blind to people against Old Weller Antique because I love Bernheim blind and you can buy it anywhere. Like any store that sells whiskey has Bernheim. And I think it's good, but nobody will buy it. Like everyone refuses to buy it. Secretly
beautiful bottle too.
It's fun. It's like understated.
It's a little flasky, like it's narrow.
Yeah. Like it fits well in the paw. Like,
yeah, I'm a big fan of a good bottle design.
I mean, which is clearly, I mean, like we were talking about before, like old Fitzgerald knocked it out too at those. Like they knew that if we're gonna entice people to spend $150 on this bottle, it needs to be beautiful. And I think they killed it pretty well with those decanter designs.
My wife is in the comments telling my secrets because I do love Makers. Makers doesn't make a single bad product in my opinion.
They do good. I mean, and they turned up in 2020. Like Makers woke up and like shook off some rust and decided to play ball in 2020, which I'm thankful for.
We drove to Kentucky the other day because I'd seen reports that the new wood finishing was out in some places. And I thought, well, if anybody's going to have it, might as well drive north a little bit.
Oh, yeah, the FAE01?
Yeah.
Did you find any?
Nope.
Damn. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, because I will find it. There are a few bottles, like it's the climate is really rough here. Like I can't find good stuff. Yeah, I agree, Ducey. Don't talk about Makers because it's way better than Weller.
Yeah, it's really good. And Cave Hill impressed me too. It wasn't quite as good, but really nice stuff. I don't know if you've had any of the Rabbit Hole stuff.
I have strong opinions about Rabbit Hole, but it could be the way I tasted them. I tasted them in a liquor store, like, you know, getting my little samples. I didn't do like a proper sit down with it, but I thought they all sucked. I thought
totally fair. Okay.
Except for the gin. The gin was really good. I'm not a huge gin person, but
funny. I'm a huge gin person. That's the only Rabbit Hole I have not tasted yet.
It's pretty cool.
Okay.
It's a weird color that I don't love. Because when I think of gin, I want it to go well in a cocktail. Because who just sits and drinks a glass of gin?
Yeah.
Color is important. Yeah, color is important in a cocktail. And it's, you know, piss brown because it's, I think, thrown in a barrel for a few minutes, and I'm not into that.
Okay. It does look a little dehydrated. I'll give you that.
Yeah. So what do you think of the old Fitz Prime? Do you have any notes? Hit me.
Okay, so the old Fitz Prime, very familiar profile. I get so it is thin. It's a little bit malty, a little bit of cardboard, lots of honey, light praline, kind of this weird sesame seed note that tells me that it's young. It's not like grassy and malty and lactic and like that disgusting craft way. It's like young macro whiskey where you're like, this will be good eventually, but it needs time. So it's like thin, kind of peachy, kind of vanilla. And it's weird to say, but it's so hot for a 40% ABV.
Absolutely. It hurts. It gives me heartburn.
Yeah. Like, and that's the thing. Like you can taste the youth and like, this is a little bit harsh and not in a bad way. Not like it's bad distillate. It just needs more time. And they clearly bottled it young. So they can serve it to you at $13, but yeah, vanilla, honey, sesame, light nuttiness that we get in that Heaven Hill. And it's just kind of hot. Like it's thin on the palate. It's rough on the finish. Like it's going to become something good someday, but that day is not anywhere near today.
Yeah, probably 13 years from the time that the stuff that goes into prime.
Yeah, at least good. Another 4 years. Like that 6, 7, 8 mark for their mash bill seems to just be worth it. How about you? What do you think?
I think it's like creamy and funky. I don't know how to do. I've yet to find sesame seed is a really accurate way to describe the weird funk. I have synesthesia a little bit, and I see tastes. And so to me, and Will can probably give some translation in the comments, but to me, it's very round. It's very open. And I don't really love things that I equate with that. Other things to me, it's like a chocolate malted milkshake.
Okay.
I get that same weird open feeling. It's like it never completes itself.
Okay.
My tasting notes are never anything that anyone's ever going to understand, but when I sit and think about them and I can kind of put the recipe together, I can, but it doesn't inspire the tasting notes. For me, I have to really love a whiskey to get those tasting notes.
Sure. It reminds me of that scene in Ratatouille where he is tasting and he's not like picking up very specific notes. He's seeing those colors, he's seeing those fireworks, and he's putting things together and seeing it. Like that's totally valid to me. And yeah, I agree. Like it is very open. Like it's kind of like it doesn't have hard borders to me. Like a lot of flavors come and go, but in like a thin, watery way, where it kind of almost reminds me of the thing that I last had before it. Like there's some light like caramel sweetness and light like nuttiness and sesame, but it also reminds me like some whiskeys just fill your mouth and they just sit on your tongue and they're pungent and they're like really reminiscent. And Old Fitzgerald Prime is like none of those things to me.
Is iced coffee a thing you partake in ever?
Occasionally, but I only remember the bad iced coffee where I was like, this tastes like really watery dirt water.
Okay, so you know when you finish the iced coffee and then you just have ice with like the few dribbles of coffee and a little bit of milk?
Sure.
And then you drink it for some inexplicable reason because the ice melted and you're like, I'm thirsty.
Yep.
That's what it reminds me of. That experience. It's like the
thin bourbon
afterthought.
water. Okay.
Yeah.
And
the afterthought of flavor.
That's totally, I think, why Old Fitzgerald Prime rocks on the rim is the way to go, because it's watery bourbon water that's refreshing.
Whereas the 15, you put that thing to your nose and it's a whole different beast.
Let's see. I just poured some. I mean, it's just amazing how different. Like, color's not everything, but like that is some hefty color compared to the watery S Prime.
Yeah, this I get just a ton of red fruits, really bright. A little bit of vegetation.
Yeah, this is prime wheat whiskey to me.
Yeah,
this has a lot of
this
that.
Is the pinnacle.
This has lots of those like big creme brulee notes that I like to see, like those complexes, not just vanilla. Like there's nougat there. There's like cinnamon, nutmeg. There's caramel. There's like that really heavy, desserty kind of cream texture.
There's an interesting note for me that I've never been able to verbalize. But when you were a kid, did you ever eat a spoonful of brown sugar and it almost has some tang?
Mm-hmm.
I smell that in this, which is I probably like the bitter lactic weirdness that molasses has.
Sure.
That I smell. But this reminds me of that in the best possible way.
It reminds me that, and that's like a really good point. Let's see. I think the mash bills are the same, but I will go ahead and check. Just replying in the chat here. So brown sugar, I love, because brown sugar you put on your tongue and it like dissolves slowly. Like it starts as a solid and then becomes a liquid, but it like coats your tongue. Mm-hmm. And this reminds me of that like quite a bit. Like it sits on your tongue. There's some richness to it. It's kind of weird when people are like, oh, it coats my tongue, because like everyone's like giggity. But like, you know, it's there. Like you can feel it on your jaw. Like you can feel it on your cheeks. Like you can feel it on your tongue. Like you have to swallow a couple of times before you're like, okay, the whiskey's out of my mouth. But like this has that mouthfeel. And I think the oak and the brown sugar elements and the age really work together to bring you that presence.
Yeah. When you reviewed this, I was so excited to have someone else to talk to about it, because it's not a super widely reviewed whiskey. It's a $160 bottle. Mm-hmm. And I remember asking you if to you it was like the experience of going up a roller coaster, if the roller coaster is bitterness and you never crest the hill into uncomfortable bitterness.
That's a great description.
It is. It takes you, because I love tannic bitterness. I love that drying feeling that you get. Like I love really strong iced tea and I love black tea.
Okay.
But it's so easy to go over the hill into uncomfortable. This just ruins everything. And I have a Knob Creek pick that I feel like crests that hill and becomes uncomfortable. Whereas this is expertly done to me.
I agree. And that's always something I've been concerned about with the Knob Creek, because like some of those are just so old and you're like, these have to be over oaked. And I like feel very strongly that they did not put out casks for people to pick that were that old that they thought were over oaked. Because like, I mean, 15, like this is old for bourbon, and it walks that tannin line, especially someone who's intensely sensitive to too much oak. Like if it's too bitter, it's an immediate turn off for me. Like there's no coming back from it. And like this does really well. And I think that like the proof works really nicely. Like if this was at 40 proof, I think it'd be a disaster. I think 50% like is just absolutely necessitated by the age and the mash bill here. And it works really well.
I've tried adding water to it and it just becomes a mess. It's a little overly tannic when you add water to it because it takes away some of the sweetness, I think, that fights that. And I don't usually get a ton of fruitiness from wheat whiskeys or, you know, weeded bourbons. And this has a ton of like jammy fruit notes to me.
Okay. I can see that. Yeah, this is on the fruitier side of those old oaky, fragrant, like molassesy bourbons, and it's fun. Like I get like Weller, William LaRue Weller has always had like this huge cherry note to me. And this is a little back down from that, but it's like very satisfying. It's very balanced. There's a lot going on.
Yeah. My only quibble with it is, to me, there's a sharp, weird note that is bitter and maybe I've yet to figure out a way to describe it, but it's like this kind of sharp poke in the mid palate that I get with this if I take too big of a sip that I don't enjoy. So I just sip it a little smaller and I enjoy it more.
Yeah, I think that some of these are just not good for like big mouthfuls. And I'm right there with you. I tend to find like the older stuff I need to like really let it sit on my palate and kind of naturally dissolve and dilute and see how it transforms. Otherwise it's just like too oaky. Sometimes it's too bold. Like some of the Knob Creeks, like small sips are king. If you take a mouthful of that, like you will not taste anything for the next 36 hours. Like your taste buds are just gonna just yeet themselves out of there.
It's like Stone Ruination IPA. I don't know if that's a beer you've ever had.
Yes.
You drink one of those and you could drink 1,000 90-minute Dogfish Head 90 minutes and it'll taste like candy to you.
Stone Ruination is really good at making everything you taste after Stone Ruination taste like Stone Ruination.
Yeah, it's interesting. I had to stop doing bitter beers because I think some of that like 120-minute Dogfish Head IPA and Stone Ruination really tested my limits of what I enjoy.
Yeah, that's totally fair. So I don't know if you have any of the 120-minute left. I love letting those sit for a couple of years because those become the creamiest like IPA that you'll ever have.
I actually, a few years ago, bought one that had been cellared. There was a place near where I lived in Ohio that they had like a wine cellar and they would keep beers that would age well there. And so I spent an ungodly amount of money on a bottle that they'd had for, I think, 3 or 4 years.
Sure.
And it was super creamy and delicious, but also still very unpleasant.
Yeah.
It's a really sweet beer.
Yep.
But the hops, man, just really kick your ass.
Yeah, I'm finding the same thing. So I've recently, in quarantine times, expressed an interest in hot sauce, and I'm super thankful. My fiance bought me the coolest thing ever for Valentine's Day, which is this, it's called Fuego Box, and it's called the Tame to Insane Challenge, and it contains like 12, maybe 11 hot sauces, and they start like mild, and they go to spicy. And I've actually been super enjoying it because, like, to me, before, hot sauce was just hot, like you tasted hot, and I didn't love that. And I'm like my eyes are being open, and I might actually write about a few of them because I think it's cool. But I'm amazed at how much flavor there can be along with the heat. But now we're getting into like the upper ones, and I'm finding that like I have to think like, am I going to taste tonight? Because I'm about to have this number 6, number 7. Like it's going to be delicious, but it's going to be really hot, and it's going to be so much flavor. But like I'm going to taste this weird Cambodian hot sauce for the next 7 hours, and like that can't influence tasting whiskey, you know. But it's super interesting, like kind of like the hoppy bitterness of the IPA. Like it is so interesting and so savory, and there's so much flavor but also I'm going to taste it for the next 10 hours.
So I actually have so I'm a big spicy food fan.
Okay.
My wife can attest to this. I actually went through a bottle of The Last Dab and a bottle of a bottle of Pucker Butt Chocolate Plague.
Sure.
In about a month. Like I eat that much that stuff on. It's really good in a Chipotle burrito. You just put a big line of that. But Stag Junior Batch 15 after eating something that is so spicy it hurts is amazing. It is. I promise you, I know the experience of drinking whiskey after having something that hot, and it blows you up. I find that Stag Junior is pretty spicy on the palate.
Yeah.
And it completely negates that, and it tastes like a dessert whiskey after something super spicy.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay.
A small sip. If you take a big sip, it's going to really double your pain.
Okay.
But a small sip is a really cool. It's a cool experiment. Lafroig is pretty good after something really spicy as well.
Fascinating. Okay. The last thing I want to do after hot stuff is like drink straight spirits. I'm gonna have to.
You should.
Okay.
You should give. I try to experiment with it. I'll light myself up with something extremely hot, and then, just take a few sips just to see what tastes good, what tastes bad.
Oh,
but
okay.
I also don't get. There are very few things that make me go, "Wow, that's really spicy."
Okay. We are in very different points in our journey because I'm trying to think of a good inoffensive way to put this, but I was a little bitch for a long time on the spicy. I did not grow up in a household that ate spicy things. Eating jalapenos for a year has been my fiance and I okay, now we're getting into spicy, and that's been my only boot camp. I know jalapeno is just go home, baby boy. But we're getting there. We're
once
working
you get
on
used to it, they are so floral and delicious, though.
Yeah,
jalapenos are one of God's greatest creations.
I've loved adding jalapeno to soup, and it sounds weird, but it adds such and it reminds me, not to get off the whiskey subject, so many really great mezcal, from the Tepestate kind of cliche families of agave and mezcal spirits, have a bright jalapeno note that's so satisfying. And I love to taste that in soup, even at the expense of some heat. But yeah, I've been loving spicy journey. White boy Wimpo gets spicy. It's been kind of fun so far.
Austin gave a really great recommendation. Secret Aardvark is a great intro to spicy. The habanero is pretty spicy, but they also are kind of mustardy and not quite as vinegary. More sriracha than hot sauce. Less of a vinegar back and more of a thicker, fun,
a saucy kind of feel instead of
Yeah, and it's in a squirt bottle. You can give yourself a nice douse of that on a burrito. Pretty fun.
Okay, not the first person. I actually had someone else tell me about Secret Aardvark a couple of days ago. So I can see the post-it. It's behind the camera on my whiteboard there.
Yeah, I think you'll enjoy it.
Okay.
We have similar interests.
This is great. I find more and more whiskey people I talk to are hot sauce, cuisine, some light travel, whiskey. It all comes together.
It's very middle-aged white dude stuff.
I know.
It's 25 to 45 years old, and it's whiskey, travel, hot sauce, barbecue. You a barbecue guy?
Yeah, I smoked a pork butt the other day.
yeah. I mean, we're all into the same stuff. Stereotypes exist for a reason, and white people are the most obvious reason why, because white people's stuff is so prevalent.
And here I just thought it was because I was a middle-aged man trapped in a young man's body. But
yeah, it happens, man.
I love it. Well, I mean, we're coming up here at the top of the hour. I think it's pretty clear. We'd love the progression from Old Fitzgerald Prime, which is good in some scenarios, to Old Fitzgerald 15-year bottled and bond limited edition, which is good, I would say, in nearly almost scenarios. What were your thoughts there?
I'm gonna have to say that Mellow Corn wins. No, yeah, I mean it's a really interesting progression. It is the definition of the shit house to the penthouse.
Oh, I like that. Next episode, we'll take that.
I think that this is a fun format to just talk about shitty whiskey and really good whiskey at the same time. But man, Old Fitz 15 it's the most expensive bottle I own. I'm pretty cheap, but it's really nice.
Excellent.
It's the most sippable 15-year whiskey I can imagine.
Okay, it's good stuff. Like George C. Stagg is up there. That's kind of punishing, but I agree with you. This is fun. We'll do more shit house to the penthouse. I think in future episodes, maybe we'll get a guest or two on. But this has been fun. Thanks for joining me, man.
Yeah, thanks. And now I own MaizeMonday.com. So next time you guys won't have to type a dirty word into your browser.
Yeah, I almost typed that into YouTube and I was like, that might get me delisted. You know, since we're making $0.0 as it is, but thinking of the future. So.
We're pretty rich.
We're living large. We're the 1% for sure.
I've had just enough whiskey to get that fuck yeah.
Fuck the man.
Yeah, I'm going to drink a beer because you made me really want one.
Dude, can't go wrong. Nothing like hydrating and drinking at the same time.
Yeah, amen.
Cool. Well, everyone, thank you so much for joining me. Anthony Corn Daddy. Anthony, definitely hit pocket, definitely not had pocket. It has been a pleasure. Check him out. If you are on the internet, go to mellowcorn.com, disable your internet adult filter first. You can also go to MaizeMonday.com. I think you guys are selling some pretty cool prints, if I'm not mistaken, of Mellow Corn.
We ended the limited edition, but I'll link it back after this is over in case anyone would like a print of my wife's artwork.
Okay, cool. I like it. For everyone, I am Jay, also known as Take at whiskeyraiders.com. You can find reviews of all the great whiskeys that we drank tonight on stream. And we will let you go out with our super cool countdown that I forgot to hit live on the intro because
share, and subscribe.
Yeah, I think the phrase is smash that like button.
Smash that like button. We need a name for our fans. We're really fucking up.
Cabos, fuckos. I don't know. You've had so many good ones.
Yeah. Fuckos is pretty good.
Well, everyone, thank you for joining me with Anthony, aka Corn Daddy, and his merry band of fuckos. Enjoy our nice long outro, and we will catch you for another Maize Monday in the future. See y'all.